And I want to thank all of the people who have been involved in the organizing of this event. And I want to thank our hosts, the government of the City of Seoul. In New York City, I'm going to talk a little bit about our food policy vision, some of the challenges we face, some of the things we're trying to do, and some of it I'll go through fairly quickly because some of the things that are in here will not be a surprise to you. We really do have so much in common. Our vision is that everybody in New York City has enough to eat, that New York City residents have equal access to nutritious and good food, and that food in New York City comes from a fair and equitable food system. And the role of my job as food policy director is to coordinate the activity of the city and its not-for-profit partners to achieve this vision. The city works to improve food security and reduce hunger. We purchase food for children and for the elderly. We provide support to businesses, to food-related businesses. We ensure good nutrition and food safety. We promote urban and rural agriculture. We reduce food waste. And this chart shows some of the key government organizations that are involved. Everyone from we have 3 different levels of government, as you probably know. There's a federal or national government that we depend a lot on our private and not-for-profit partners, our NGO partners, in achieving the goals, achieving our vision for food in New York City. People who don't have enough money to properly feed themselves and their families, even with government assistance, rely on food pantries and soup kitchens that provide food for free. These programs are all run by volunteers and are located in churches, in synagogues, and in other community-based organizations. You also know, because you experienced this here, that the New York City food system is vast and it's very decentralized. It's very diverse, and so we are currently soliciting consulting bids to provide us with a first-level map to even understand how food moves in our city from one place to another. It's complicated because there are so many different private companies that are involved. We do have a central wholesale market for meat, poultry, fish, fruit, and vegetables. It's located in the Bronx, which is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. It's located at the Hunts Point Food Distribution Center. We also have 5 public markets, but like many developed countries, we rely primarily on groceries and convenience stores for our food. We also have programs that run, that are farm-to-city programs that bring fresh produce into the city for our farmers markets. And 3 of the most prominent ones are Grow New York City, Corbin Hill Farms, and Harvest Home. And of course, we rely very heavily on nonprofits to actually do nutrition education. There's very little nutrition education we do directly as a city. Most of that is done through nonprofit partners. So now I want to talk a little bit about the challenges we have to improving nutrition and health in New York City. I'm then going to talk about some of the efforts we're making to address these issues. The first thing that you probably know is that New York City is a large and growing city. I say this, that it's a growing city, because a lot of the large cities in the United States are actually shrinking in population. We're growing. This growth is fueled by diverse immigration from all over the world. It's part of our proud heritage that our country is so free and open. Our poverty, and New York City within that, is particularly a port for new immigrants, which is what has made our city so strong. Our poverty rate is very high, surprisingly high, given, I think, our public image. Almost half of New York City residents have incomes at or near the poverty level. Disparities in income are high, and people who are not white and who are, in some cases, people who are not born here, not all cases, are more likely to have trouble paying their rent and being able to afford nutritious food. Food insecurity is also very high in New York City. We estimate that 1.4 million New York City residents report to us that there are times during the year when they struggle to put enough food on the table. It's a very high number of people, obviously, and it is the major concern of what we're working on in New York. In terms of dietary trends, a lot of similarities that you'll notice here. Americans are spending more and more money on food they did not prepare on home. We've been on this path in the United States toward a less healthy diet for many decades. Processed foods were introduced in the 1950s as a convenience to busy homemakers. This is the generation of, that was my mom, right? In my mother's generation, she was the first generation to be introduced to all these processed foods. The market for those foods continued to grow. Processed foods are often less expensive than fresh foods, and food production and availability is driven by economic concerns. This is a very, very serious challenge for us in New York. There is a growing awareness of the consequences of convenience foods, and some food manufacturers and retailers are changing to respond to more educated consumers who are demanding better food. Our dietary disease trends look a lot like the ones you saw earlier, where more than half of our adult New Yorkers are overweight or obese. 1 in 10 adults have diabetes, and 1 in 3 deaths in New York City are due to heart disease. And this chart shows that high blood pressure among adults has increased from 26% to 29% just between 2002 and 2013. I will say that in New York, sugary drink consumption, which has been a huge target of ours over the last 10 years, is declining. This is a success. And I think a lot of this has to do with the amount of marketing that we've done, counter-marketing that we've done, and the fact that the City Health Department has taken a number of measures to increase the awareness of the dangers of these beverages. Sodium consumption, however, remains quite high because so much of our food is packaged, and so many of us are eating in restaurants. Over the past 10 years, the New York City Public Health Department has been taking many important steps to improve diets with a focus on reducing obesity and other diet-related disease. We continue to look to many ways we can increase the availability of healthy foods and to encourage people to eat these foods and to reject foods that are harmful to them. So it's not just eating better foods, but also rejecting the sugars and the salts that are bad for them. We find that no one single approach to increasing the consumption of good food and rejecting foods that are not good for people is sufficient. No one thing we can do is going to do it. So we need to provide both education about nutritious diets, and at the same time, we need to improve the availability of good food and make sure that people are paid a decent wage so that they can afford fresh and healthy food. This means that the city has become involved at every stage of the food supply chain, looking for ways to make sure that more good food is available. So one of the things that we have done in the new administration to build on the successes of the previous administration is to develop a strategic plan for the entire city. So it's an integrated strategic plan. It is called One New York City. That's the name of the strategy. And it has several goals. This is only one of those goals. So this is not the whole plan. But this is the part of the plan that I believe we're all most interested in at this conference. We have a goal for health and wellness. And that goal is that New Yorkers of all ages will live, work, learn, and play in neighborhoods that promote a healthy lifestyle. So this goes beyond food and has to do with healthy activities and so on, more open spaces. The food initiative that relates to that goal is that we're going to improve food access, affordability, and quality, and encourage a sustainable, resilient food system. And in order to hold ourselves accountable, we have developed a target which we can measure by using the community survey, the community health survey that I talked about earlier. And that target is to increase the average numbers of servings of fruits and vegetables that adult New Yorkers report eating per day to 3 servings by 2035. That it is in the poorer communities that people are less likely to have eaten fruits and vegetables a day. I should also say that a serving can be a number of different things. It's not just a piece of fruit. It can indeed be an apple, but it can also be a half a cup of cabbage, or it can be a slice of melon. And while we all agree that what we do agree on is that we want to make sure that everyone eats more vegetables, they now have a campaign that is called More Matters, which means eating more vegetables and fruits makes a difference to your health. We're not going to worry too much about how much more, but we want everybody to increase their intake. In our food plan, we have 4 very specific strategies that need to be in place in order to make sure that food is available to everyone and in sufficient amounts. And the first one is that we want to increase the share of regional food that comes to New York City from the agricultural regions around New York City through investments in our food distribution system to make it more efficient. Currently, we have a lot of farmers who are, can bring produce in, but we don't have the scale and infrastructure to make that available for a city of 8.5 million people. So we need to build out that infrastructure. And I'm going to describe each of these things in some detail. They're listed up there. So in terms of increasing the supply of local and sustainable food, like I said, we want to invest in public infrastructure by upgrading our food distribution hub and creating what's called a co-packing facility in New York City. And that simply means places that will take fresh food and package it in ways that can be sent out easily to schools and other places that serve food. We are working with the state to establish a wholesale regional food market where farmers can bring all their produce and have it aggregated in one place that will make it easier for them to sell it because they will have somebody who can manage all the direct contacts and sales and relationships in New York City. And providing more business assistance to small farms in New York State to help them become wholesale ready, meaning be able to work more efficiently with the city and its large demand for food. And then the first thing that's up here is a very important development. We passed a local law, our city council passed a local law, number 50, and it encouraged the purchase of local and sustainable foods by city agencies by giving a price preference to local producers. So that means that if everything about the bids is equal in terms of the dollar amount, we can give a preference up to 10% in price to the local producer. So if a local producer says we'll give you something for $1.10 a pound, the other bid is $1, we have the ability to consider those as 2 equal bids. We are working really, really hard all the time to expand and improve quality of New York City school food. We have standards for food, for the nutrition of the food that goes onto plates, and we apply those standards to 250 million meals and snacks served every year in the schools and the senior centers, child care centers, hospitals, jails, shelters. The largest number of meals by far is served in our schools. We have 1.1 million public school children in New York City and 1,800 schools. About 160 million meals are served every year in our public schools. So those standards apply to meals and snacks everywhere, but particularly want to make the connection with our school food system. There are several different school food access programs, and I won't have time to talk about all of them in detail, but the ones I wanted to highlight is that we have wellness coordinators and councils in 125 of those 1,800 schools. Certainly not enough, but these are wonderful bodies that help schools plan for wellness classes and wellness services. We have school gardens in a number of different schools, and a garden to cafe program, which is that idea of having kids grow the food, cook it, and serve it in about 350 schools. We have nutrition education programs that are run by 80 different nonprofit organizations. That's right, it's 80 different nonprofit organizations that are evaluated regularly by a single academic entity. We have school chef training programs for not all of our cafeterias have kitchens associated with them, but the ones that we do, we have school chef training programs. Many of our meals are still catered in. We just finished doing an expansion of providing free lunch to every student who wants it in middle school. And that's a first for New York City. And we also have, and that takes away the stigma of being one of those kids that gets the free lunch when other people are paying for their lunch, which means in middle schools, shame. So this takes the shame out of it. And the meal is just free to everybody, no matter what. And that particularly matters for middle school kids. And then we've started, you heard earlier about people skipping breakfast. We worry about kids skipping breakfast because they're busy. We also worry about skipping breakfast because families are just stressed out of their minds and because they may not have enough. And so in order to make sure that the little ones get a good start on the day, we're starting to do breakfast in the classroom starting next month. We've always had breakfast available in the school before the bell rings. Now we're going to bring breakfast into the classroom for free for every kid so that the kids will be having a social eating experience with their class in elementary school. And we're phasing that in over 3 years. That's about 450 schools. You heard about snack bar renovations. We've been doing whole-scale cafeteria renovations. Some of our oldest school buildings are 100 years old. They have very old cafeterias, very old school. And if you're in high school, it's not cool to eat there. It's not cool to hang out there. So we're starting to organize it so it looks more like a cafe situation, a place that will appeal to many more older students. And we have money in the budget to do 45 of those renovations in the next 3 years. So that's a very big deal in terms of just making the cafeteria a more appealing place. And changing the way that the lines are all laid out so that the kids can, the healthy choices are in places where it's almost irresistible to grab them. And the other thing we're doing that is really important is, kids will very easily grab a soda, sugary drink. They'll leave the building. We have standards that we don't stock soda in vending machines in schools. The kids, especially the older kids, they'll just leave the building and get a soda. We find that they do that less if we have just plain old water. So we were trying to get as many water jets, water fountains, into schools and cafeterias as possible. It may surprise you to learn that we don't have them in every school. We have 146 farmers markets located throughout the city. Some of them are located in healthcare facilities. Some of them employ neighborhood youth who learn business skills, and all of them sell fresh produce. Some of them are open throughout the winter, which is, in our climate and yours, I'm sure, a feat. Health Bucks is a program that we have, which are $2 coupons that are redeemable for if they are spent on fresh fruits and vegetables at the New York City farmers markets. The purpose of these coupons is to provide our low-income shoppers with an incentive to spend their food stamps at the farmers market, so that for every $5 that they spend using what's called SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, more commonly known as food stamps, a federal supplement program. For every $5, those shoppers receive a $2 coupon. The coupons are also distributed by 325 different community-based organizations as part of their nutrition and health programming. So it's an incentive to come to nutrition education classes to get the coupons. Another initiative we have that's relatively new is green carts. And these were created to get more fresh fruits and vegetables into neighborhoods that didn't have good produce selection in their supermarkets. Again, corresponding very much to low-income areas. So green carts are mobile vending carts. They sell fresh fruits and vegetables in those neighborhoods where we know from our survey that there are low rates of fruit and vegetable consumption. There are now 364 of these green carts in the city, and many of those take the health bucks, the food coupons I was talking about. We also have a program that's called Shop Healthy, and this is a very important initiative for us. This is where we reach out to food retailers. We have a class of corner store. We call them bodegas. We reach out to food retailers to increase the stock and promotion of healthy food. We have the Fresh program. This was established in 2009, and it makes it easier for supermarket operators to finance new projects in neighborhoods that don't have full-scale stores now in New York. Supermarket projects, big stores. And 9 of these have been completed. The most recent completion was a 90,000 square foot supermarket that serves 3 very important neighborhoods in New York City that are low income, and it's a real achievement. The Department of Education has installed salad bars in over 1,000 city schools, so we actually have more than half now in the salad bar program. And we also have salad bars in our public hospital system. We are currently developing 5 urban farms. These are in addition to all the urban gardens we have large half-acre to 2-acre farms that we're developing near our public housing developments. That's subsidized housing, again, for people who are poor. These are our gardens where residents get together, farm together. They don't have their own plots. They create a whole farm with all kinds of different vegetables. They share in the farming of all the vegetables according to plan, and then they share the entire harvest. So it's not just mine and yours, it's the whole development shares the food. The City Parks Department currently registers about 524 community gardens and in different neighborhoods. There's 537 gardens associated with schools where we do curriculum and nutrition education curriculum. And most of these grow edible crops. These gardens are used to teach students about food. The department provides seeds and soil and tools and lumber and training to support community members and school gardeners. And our public housing authority also supports another 700 gardens. About half of them produce food. I will say here that there's a lot of discussion about, urban farming being the sustainability solution for cities. I don't know about other cities. I do know that in New York City, we do not believe that we will be able to feed 8.5 million New Yorkers, or some subset of those New Yorkers, on food that we grow in the city. It's not the only reason we grow food in New York City. It's only part of it. But we do think it makes a great contribution to sociality and resilience in a community, and is a great community center and experience. We also distribute fruits and vegetables in soup kitchens and pantries, so that those pantry options are at least as healthy as the other options. So I summarize most of these, but this is just those are the coupons there at a farmer's market in New York. And this has now become a national model, so that there are cities around the country that are using some form of coupons. And this is one of our green carts and a green cart vendor. One of the hosts for the green cart vendor. We have a lot of mobile vending, I know you have mobile vending here in Seoul too, but we have a lot of people vending food off of carts on the street. It's challenging. It's a great opportunity for people who want to get business expertise. It doesn't pay very much. You have to work in all weather. And mobile vending, because the streets are so crowded in New York, there are some people who really want to, because it's an opportunity particularly for immigrants to get new jobs, there are a lot of people who would really like to expand all kinds of vending, food vending in New York City, including our wonderful food trucks. And there are other people who are really opposed to it. And the people who are most opposed are the people who are running businesses that are brick and mortar businesses that have their own storefronts. They feel that these kinds of businesses compete. So this has not been easy, but it has been very, in terms of achieving our goals, it's been very rewarding. And this is just, this is a storefront. Part of the Shop Healthy program is we take everything, all the food advertising, we just take it off the doors, take it out of the windows, all the stuff for Coke and beer and liquor and all that other stuff. And we give people alternative posters to put up. It advertises the fact that the vendor is participating in this program and that people can go into these stores and buy healthy food in their neighborhood without having to travel long distances and have to take 2 buses to get near the nearest supermarket. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about regulation and consumer education, because this is very, very important to any food policy, I think. In New York City, we believe that we need to regulate the food environment. This is a fairly, this could be somewhat controversial, but we started banning things in New York that are bad for people. And we tried to exercise as much authority as we had within the law and within the Constitution of the United States of America to do this, right? So the first thing that we did was our Board of Health, which is part of our health, which is an advisory board to our health department, and has legal authority to create regulation, not law, but regulation. Banned restaurants from serving trans fats in food. And that trans fat ban has been in effect since 2006. It is actually a nationwide ban now. It's a federal policy. The second thing we did was we introduced the calorie labeling regulation. And again, not a law, but a regulation. This provides that menus and menu boards in chain restaurants like McDonald's and Chipotle and Starbucks and all those chains, right? They all have to say, this drink has, up on the menu board, it has to say, this drink has 300 calories, this drink has 600 calories, this burrito bowl has 1,200 calories, so that consumers have that information. And this evaluation has proved to have a great effect in consumer choice. Some people don't care, you know, not everybody is moved to change the way they eat by seeing these, but many, many people are shocked to find out how many calories are in some of these drinks, and particularly at Starbucks. I think this is the funniest part. I will say I drink coffee at Starbucks, but I also want to say that, you know, some of the stuff that they, you know, the fraps and all this other stuff they've got is quite caloric. The third thing that we've done in New York is that we were on a roll, and we decided that the Board of Health would try to get portion controls on sugary beverages. So this was saying you could no longer serve, you know, 24 ounces at a movie theater, right? People were coming out of movie theaters with those big gulp. That's what they call it. And we said, you know, you can serve this much. 6 ounces, 8 ounces at most. That was passed by our Board of Health, but somebody took it to the courts, and the courts said that the Board of Health did not have the authority to do this. So this was a big setback for us, because, like I said, we were having pretty good luck. So now we haven't given up, and we're looking at a bill. If we do something with the City Council and pass a law instead of a regulation, we could get this through. So that the challenge there is that the American Beverage Association in the United States is a very strong trade group. I imagine it's true here too. They give a lot of money to legislators. And so this is, I would say, one of the biggest challenges that we have. We can do whatever we want to do, but to me it reminds me of the old days when I was growing up. It was all about tobacco. And then the final thing I want to say about this, which I'm really excited about, is working on what we call counter-marketing strategies. So this is putting out messages that oppose the messages that are being put out by the fast food industry, that are being put out by the American Beverage Association. And we currently have a campaign that a group of young people is starting to work on. It's a social media-based campaign, and the Twitter hashtag is soda kills. Right? so it kills. Pretty direct, right? And young people are, it's a peer program where young people are talking about this via social media, and thank you for the opportunity.
So we are a kind of an NGO outside the municipality of Copenhagen. The trust is getting money from the city, but we are not directly into the city. So the public meals that we are working with is primarily the one in the municipality, the nursery. The hospitals is not really the city, but we are getting into them. The orphans, the sports centers, the shelters, the city centers, the canteens, the schools, the meal on wheels, the social institution, the nursery home, the daycare, even the prisons we got into now to work. So what are we doing? This is some of the projects we have done, and I'm mostly going to talk about the kitchen lift and the organic project, because that's the most important in the change that we are doing. Improve the quality of the public meals in Copenhagen, offered to the resident people. We aim to create a sustainable, healthy and joyful meal culture in the municipality of Copenhagen. We're doing it by the organic conversion project, where we want to turn the city into being an organic city, and we're doing by the kitchen lift, where we want to lift the quality. So how do we do this? Oh, it's 80,000 meals a day, all over the city. It's 40,000 dinners daily. It is 7.3 tons of food annually, every year. It's 141 tons weekly. So it's 1,100 kitchens at 925 locations. But we were thinking that's 10% of the municipality's procurement in Denmark. So if we can change those 10% to be organic, we can kickstart the organic movement in Copenhagen or in Denmark. So that's what we wanted to do. The goal was 75% in 2011. We got that. The goal is 90% in 2015, at the end of this year. We are almost going to get there. There's one huge kitchen we can't lift before now. They are sleeping. So now they're waking up, and we're going to have it next year. The national agenda, because we could do it in Copenhagen, the ministers of Denmark said, why not do it in the whole country? They are chickens, so they only want to aim for 60%, but that's okay. The reason for the 60% is that we are saying that we can change a kitchen into be 60% organic in the same budget as they have before. It wasn't my lousy English, or I'm not lying. This is really true. We can do that in Denmark, we can do it in the Western world. I don't know about Korea. Probably you can do almost the same here. Why first? We are shooting to aim clean water. Because we are choosing the organic, we are using groundwater in Denmark. So not getting the poison down in the groundwater will secure that we still can have clean water. So that's really why we're doing it. So the Copenhagen methods, how are we doing it? And is it really true? There's two ways of turning a kitchen into be organic. You can just start buying organic products and do as you always have done. That will mean that your kitchen will be, it says here, 20 to 30% more expensive. I think actually that will be a lie. It might be 30 to 40% more expensive to just turn the kitchen in. Our method is not to subsidize the food by organic, but is to make a change in the kitchen. We say that we want to make a change in the pot and in the mind. We want to change this mindset of the kitchen. That way we can turn it organic, and that way they will change the way they cook. So that's more important for me, personally, that they change the way they cook. But by changing the way they cook, the meals will get more healthy. This is the way we are doing it. We have 9 bullets we look at. One of the bullets is less meat. different cuts of meat. We have a project with the Danish army, where we went to the canteens of the Danish army and looked at the food that the soldiers was eating. They were eating, I don't know if they ate it all, but they were being served 650 grams of meat every day. Not good cuts like this, just meat. That's not okay. That's too much. So by looking at how much meat do you need? Well, I only need approximately 150 grams. Well, let's take 150 grams of good meat and prepare it the right way and eat it all. So that's what we're doing. We say cutting all off the meat and doing just smaller portions, but portions they will eat. You have this wonderful symbol of take only what you need, or something like that in the first presentation. The next thing is more seasonable. Use the seasons. By using the seasons, the food will get cheaper. Not much, but a little. By using the season, we will see changes in the food. By eating seasonal, the food will get cheaper and the variation in the food will be much higher. And you will appreciate the strawberry because the strawberries have a nice taste at my birthday party. Potatoes take time to peel and cook, so more and more kitchens are buying them pre-cooked, pre-peeled and saying, oh, we don't have time. But if you go and see in the garbage bin afterwards, you can see all the potatoes are down there. So stop peeling by serving so much, serve a little less, peel it yourself, cook it yourself, it tastes much better. You get heavier people and healthier people. So by raising the quality, we can get better food at a cheaper price. Fruit in season, that's the seasonal thing as well. We like to use more grains and lentils and stuff like that, who can give you proteins instead of the meat. So another thing we did was making this campaign of the local heroes I have talked about. This in the city, a lot of people didn't know what it was about. They thought it was about refugees because it was people. You say, no, it's the local heroes of Copenhagen. The two girls who's on the back of each other, they're cooking in my kids' nursery home. And that's Jytte, and now she's happy. She's really one of the local heroes. Here's another kitchen, 94% organic. I've taken this one with me. We have a famous restaurant in Denmark called Noma. That's top 3 in restaurants. I've been top 1 for 5 years, the best restaurant in the world. René Vasevius is the chef at that restaurant. That's his mom. She's cooking at sheltering for homeless people every day. And she has 90% organic. She's quite a woman. We turned this into a display. This was our mayor, one of our mayor. This is our Lord Mayor now. We made a booklet with all the pictures to make the staff proud. When you cook real food, when you go out to eat with the one you're cooking for, you get proud. And then you want to make good food. We are like that. I'm a chef myself. I want to see the people I'm cooking for. I want to see their faces. We don't want a plastic tray like that. I don't think it's the plastic tray that's the problem, but it's the symbol of you just getting thrown some food on your bed. Here it was, craftsmanship. So what type of kitchen you want? You want one with real chefs, or you want something pre-cooked? One way of doing it is making the kids or the elderly help doing the potatoes. They've been working all their life. Why not still prepare some of your food? The next thing is we are looking at New York. We want to have local food as well. We have a small island out there called Bornholm, and we got a little city called Lejre. We want to get a lot of food from there. because we want the kids in Copenhagen to know where the food is coming from. So we want to make an exchange. So they have the food, we have the people. We can do that in the Copenhagen House of Food by helping with the procurement specialists who can help buying the products. We have one thing we have to do when they open the Copenhagen House of Food. There's one thing that said you have to do this. You have to make a tool for rating the kitchens. You have to make a tool so we can see which is the best kitchen or is this not the best. Say we're not going to do that. No, like what? You have to do it. Saying no, because food is not only the kitchens. Food is the meal. So we like to make a tool for progress in the kitchen. To try to make progress in the kitchen and with the staff who serve the food. So we made something called the kitchen lift, where we go out. It was ordered by the politicians of Copenhagen. It was developed and tasted by institutions and professionals. And over a 2-year development process, we made this. We started off by taking the kitchens or the institution in and making them give a promise. So we're doing a mapping. 2 consultants come out, eat a meal at the institution, makes a report, look in all the closets, talk to the people, how you're doing. They are making a report, and next time we see them, we come out and we present what we saw that day. So we got 5 promises we have to look at. The first is the right to good food, the culinary quality. How do you measure? We're trying to say, how do you check that the food is seasoned right? Do you talk to each other before you serve it? We have food safety was a big issue in Denmark. It's kind of relaxed now because they were so afraid of the fish being too raw. They cooked it 2 times and they cooked it to 72 degrees, so it was like a shoe. This is served a day where I came on inspection. You think it looked good? Don't have to be polite. It doesn't look good, huh? No colors. It's just smashed on a plate. And if I go down to the kitchen and say, do you really think this is looking really delicate? But sometimes it's the way you serve the food. You cook the food in the kitchen and send it up to the institution. But how are they going to serve it? The chef's mind is so simple. Well, of course you just put it on a plate. Yes, but how will you put it on a plate? Well, just put it on a plate. No, you just don't put food on a plate. You think how you're doing it. Ah, I have to explain that? Yes, you have. But otherwise they're doing it the wrong way. I have an example here. This is a Danish dish where you've got cooked meatballs. Everybody who is trained as a chef knows you don't serve cooked meatballs without sauce on top. You got cooked meatballs don't look nice. But the people who served it didn't know. So you have to tell the people who are serving the food how should they serve it. The raw materials, you have to get good raw materials. You have to look into seasonal thing. This look bad. It's not nice. I know you're trained as a chef. I know you can cook food. I know you're a good cook. How can you serve this? Okay, respect for the meal. We don't have that. If you go into an elderly home, you can see a lot of meals where in the beginning of the meals, the elderly have to eat a handful of pills. That's not a way to start a meal. That's not an appetizer. Sorry. You have to do something else. The same there. Speak to the people. You're having a meal. It's the kind of the time of the day where you know the staff is in the eating hall. So if you want to catch the staff, you go down in the meal. That's where they are. Oh, can you change the schedule or can you come a little later? Well, I don't care. I'm serving food now. We're having a good meal. I don't want to talk schedule now. So you have to tell them, this is work. this guy is having a meal. And if we're just calculating the meal and how much sugar, how much fat, it doesn't matter if it's not a nice meal. The same here, this is a famous lamp we have in Copenhagen. And if I come in Denmark, and if I come into an institution, I can see when they have the Christmas tree. You know, we got this tree we put in every Christmas, because in that corner where they got the Christmas tree, the lamp is up. It's Christmas, what, 1 week? And the Christmas tree is out again, but the lamp is still up there. During the summer, the lamp is still up there, because nobody looks at the room and say, is it nice? So you have to look at the room, is it nice? Is it a good place to eat? The right food for the right people? That you look at the target group that you're serving for, that you're making the best food for them. It's really important. That you look at the individual nutritional status and the needs and has focus on that. That's really important. At last, the responsibility and job satisfaction, that we are working together in the institution. That's really important. Because by working together we can make better meals. Take the chef out of the kitchen, put him with the kids, and make, this is herring. Nobody can get kids to eat herring. But when they're doing like this, they will eat it. So this is the best nutrition, this is the best everything. Cook to the kids, because by the kid learns, the adults knows. Yes?